Step away from the bike. That motorcycle matches a stolen vehicle description.
This is my bike. I have the registration right here.
I didn't ask. Step away now.
What description? What are you talking
I'm not going to
about?
ask again.
I want your badge number.
You're being
I own
non-compliant.
this motorcycle. The documents are in my
Everyone
wallet.
has an excuse. Hands where I can see
So
them.
you're detaining me
I'm
for riding
detaining
my
you
own-
because...
Radio crackles. Footsteps echo across a quiet parking lot. The officer pulls his taser, eyes narrowing as the civilian's voice rises in disbelief. A subtle shift in tone, a command issued with no evidence, only assumption. His hand grips the cuffs, clinking as he steps forward, too quickly. In this moment, authority and arrogance collide, escalating beyond repair. The bike, an ordinary object, matching a description, a mistaken claim, a career-ending mistake unfolding before your eyes. The man stands firm, the registration proving his innocence already in his pocket. The officer's ego takes over, but his career is about to take a dive. The bike's ID number? It's about to be the key to unraveling everything. In the parking lot outside a local cafe, late afternoon sunlight filters through the trees as a well-maintained motorcycle sits idle. Its owner, a black man in his 30s, prepares to ride away after a brief coffee break. The scene feels peaceful until a patrol car pulls up. The officer steps out, hand already on his belt, eyes locked on the bike. He's responding to an anonymous tip, vague, unverified, barely worth the radio call. But he's already made his decision. The man notices the approach, keys in hand, helmet under his arm. Before he can mount the bike, the command comes. The officer's tone carries absolute certainty, the kind that doesn't wait for questions. He sees a suspect. The man sees injustice forming. Neither knows the bike's registration, tucked safely in the rider's wallet, will decide everything. This is where procedure died and ego took over. The man responds calmly but firmly, asking what description the officer means. The officer doesn't answer directly. Instead, he repeats the command, louder this time, stepping closer. His body language shifts, shoulders squared, hand hovering near his weapon. The man doesn't move from the bike. He asks for the officer's badge number. The officer ignores the request. Witnesses begin to gather, cafe patrons pulling out phones, recording from the window. The officer notices but doesn't care. His confidence remains absolute. He's made thousands of stops like this. Routine procedure, routine outcome. But the man's calm demeanor should be a warning. No panic, no sudden movements, no fear. Just steady questions about why he's being stopped. The officer mistakes composure for defiance. Radio static fills the silence between commands. The gap between authority and accountability is about to collapse. The officer moves forward, grabbing the man's arm. The man pulls back slightly, not resisting arrest, but protecting his balance. That minimal movement is all the justification the officer needs. Cuffs click into place. Metal against wrist. The sound echoes across the parking lot, captured on multiple phone cameras now recording from different angles. The officer jerks the man away from the motorcycle, forcing him toward the patrol car. No Miranda warning yet. No explanation of charges. No request for identification or documentation. Just cuffs and commands. The bike stands alone, engine still warm, registration documents untouched in the seat compartment. What should have been a simple ID check, 30 seconds, maybe less, has become an unlawful detention. The officer radios dispatch, confirming he's bringing someone in. His voice carries satisfaction. That confidence won't survive the next hour. At the station, booking procedures begin. The man is processed through intake, still handcuffed, still calm. The booking officer asks for identification. The detained man provides his driver's license and points to his wallet. Inside, motorcycle registration, insurance documents, purchase receipt from 2 years prior. All in his name, all matching the VIN number on the bike currently sitting in the parking lot. The arresting officer stands nearby, filling out paperwork, still confident in his judgment. The booking officer glances at the documents, then at the arrest report. Something doesn't align. The description in the anonymous tip mentioned a different make and model, different color, different year. The only similarity? Both riders were black men. The booking officer's expression shifts. He doesn't say anything yet, but his pen stops moving. Documentation tells a different story than the street. While the detained man waits in holding, the booking officer walks to the arresting officer's desk. Quiet conversation. Hand gestures toward the paperwork. The arresting officer shakes his head, doubling down. He insists the bike match the description closely enough. The booking officer points to the registration. Right there. Owner's name, VIN number, purchase date, everything legitimate. The arresting officer's voice rises slightly. He mentions the man's refusal to comply immediately, the arm pull, the defiant tone. These are justifications for the detention, he argues, not the bike itself. But the booking officer knows procedure. Without probable cause for the initial stop, everything after becomes questionable. The conversation grows tense. Another officer glances over. Someone mentions calling a supervisor. The arresting officer's jaw tightens. His confidence begins cracking at the edges. This wasn't supposed to require explanations. In holding, the detained man asks to make a phone call. Standard procedure grants this. He calls an attorney. The conversation is brief, professional, detailed. He explains the stop, the lack of probable cause, the immediate detention without investigation. The attorney asks about documentation. The man confirms everything is in his wallet. Registration, insurance, purchase receipt. The attorney tells him to say nothing more and promises to arrive within the hour. That phone call changes the temperature. When the detained man returns to booking, his demeanor hasn't shifted. Still calm, still cooperative, but now there's legal representation incoming. The arresting officer overhears fragments of the conversation. Attorney, unlawful detention, civil rights violation. Words that should trigger immediate reassessment. Instead, the officer dismisses them. Another mistake, another step toward career destruction. The supervisor arrives 30 minutes later. She's been briefed on the situation. Detained individual, registered motorcycle owner, attorney en route, multiple witness recordings. She reviews the arrest report, reads the booking documents, checks the registration against the bike's VIN. Everything matches. She asks the arresting officer to explain the initial stop. He repeats the anonymous tip, the description match, the suspicious behavior. She asks what specific details matched. He hesitates. Black male, motorcycle, general area. That's all. She closes the folder. Her expression reveals nothing, but her questions become sharper. Did he ask for identification before detaining? No. Did he verify ownership before cuffs? No. Did he have any concrete evidence linking this individual to theft? Silence. The supervisor makes a call. Internal Affairs needs notification. The officer's face drops. Two realities now exist simultaneously. In the holding area, the detained man sits quietly, knowing his documentation proves everything. In the supervisor's office, phone calls multiply. Watch commander, legal department, public information officer. Each call reveals more procedural violations. No reasonable suspicion documented. No attempt at investigation before detention. No Miranda warning administered. Multiple witnesses with video evidence. Registered owner detained for allegedly stealing his own property. The arresting officer sits outside the office, listening to fragments through the door. Words like lawsuit, settlement, and suspension float through. His hands shake slightly as he reviews his own report, searching for justification that isn't there. What felt like routine authority on the street now looks like racial profiling on paper. The documentation doesn't lie. The attorney arrives, briefcase in hand, credentials presented, immediate demand for client access. The supervisor meets him in the lobby, explaining the situation is being reviewed. The attorney cuts through procedure with precision. Unlawful detention, Fourth Amendment violation, clear documentation of ownership, multiple witnesses, no probable cause. He requests immediate release and all documentation related to the stop. The supervisor doesn't argue. She knows the legal exposure. Within 20 minutes, the detained man is released. No charges filed, no citation issued, cuffs removed, personal items returned, apology offered by the supervisor but not the arresting officer. The man walks out with his attorney, motorcycle keys in hand. Behind them, the real consequences are just beginning. The officer's career isn't ending in this moment. It already ended in the parking lot. Internal Affairs opens an investigation the next morning, standard protocol for potential civil and rights violations. The arresting officer is placed on administrative leave pending review. He's required to surrender his service weapon and badge. The investigation examines body cam footage, except there isn't any. The officer's camera wasn't activated during the initial stop. Another violation. Multiple witness videos fill the gap, showing the aggressive approach, the immediate detention, the lack of investigation. IA interviews the booking officer, the supervisor, the detained civilian, and the attorney. Each statement builds the same narrative: detention without cause, escalation without justification, ego replacing procedure. The officer submits a written statement defending his actions. It contradicts the video evidence. That sealed it. 3 weeks later, a lawsuit is filed in federal district court. Unlawful detention, violation of civil rights, emotional distress, reputational harm. The filing includes witness videos, registration documents, and a detailed timeline showing every procedural failure. The city attorney's office reviews the case. Their assessment? Indefensible. Settlement negotiations begin immediately. The department can't risk trial. Too much video evidence, too clear a pattern of racial profiling, too many procedural violations documented. The proposed settlement includes financial compensation and a requirement for enhanced training on implicit bias and constitutional policing. The officer, still on administrative leave, learns about the lawsuit through his union representative. His career in law enforcement is effectively over. No department will hire him after this. The badge meant everything. Now it means nothing. 4 months after the parking lot confrontation, the officer is terminated. The Internal Affairs investigation concluded he violated multiple department policies: failure to establish probable cause, improper use of detention authority, failure to activate body cam, failure to attempt de-escalation. The termination letter is detailed and damning. His appeal through the union is denied. The arbitrator finds the violations too severe, the evidence too clear. Meanwhile, the city settles the lawsuit for an undisclosed amount, reported by local media to be in the mid-six figures. The department announces policy changes: mandatory body cam activation for all stops, enhanced constitutional training, and stricter oversight of detention decisions. The former officer's name appears in news coverage permanently linked to wrongful detention and racial profiling. The parking lot outside the cafe remains unchanged. Same trees, same sunlight filtering through branches, same peaceful afternoon atmosphere. But the motorcycle owner no longer stops there. The settlement money can't erase the humiliation of being cuffed in public, accused of stealing his own property, detained without cause. The former officer's badge sits in an evidence locker somewhere, tagged and cataloged like any other piece of department property. His career ended not because of one mistake, but because ego replaced judgment, assumption replaced investigation, and authority without accountability became a lawsuit the city couldn't defend. The lesson? Procedure exists for a reason. Documentation protects everyone, and a vague description is never enough. What would you have done in that moment? Demand a supervisor or comply?